Castleberry. Welcome back to the show.
We are so sorry it's been a long time. In fact, someone came up to me today, you know who you are, listener, and said, "What's going on? When are you guys coming back?" And I was thrilled to be able to say, "We'll be back tonight."
Was that Drew's mom?
It wasn't Drew's mom, but shout out to Drew and Drew's mom. both listeners for us. So how are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Good.
You good? Yeah.
Enjoyed
the summer. I think that's part of the reason we were on a bit of a hiatus was
even hardworking podcasters deserve a vacation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know why we would, but they do.
Yeah. I thought about it after the fact, but I should have filmed an episode or recorded an episode on location. We went to California this summer, so that was fun. Yeah.
What was the highlight of your California trip?
I would say 2 highlights: the California Adventure Park and then the San Diego Zoo.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. Although there was a lot I liked of the trip. There was definitely there's La Jolla Beach, which there's tidal pools and you're right next to the sea lions and the seals, like within 20 feet of them.
Wow.
So that was a lot of fun. We went on a whale watching tour.
I heard you were kind of on the fence about going there, but when you saw them, it really sealed the deal. That it was a good thing for them.
Yeah.
Wrong part of the show, Andy.
Oh, it was good.
Do they yell? Like, do they make noises?
Yeah, they make noises.
Okay.
They make noises. And I had been told by a couple people online and in person that it was a very smelly place.
Oh.
But nothing could have prepared me for just like how
smelly it was.
How smelly it was. And the weirdest thing for me is just like that there's restaurants across the street and people sitting outside and eating food while just
maybe it's part of the ambiance. Love it.
I don't know. I couldn't do it.
Ali, have you traveled at all this summer?
I went to St. Augustine, which is always fun.
It is a lovely place.
Went to the beach there and walked around downtown.
Pretty.
I went to Naples. That was for a work thing, but it was still nice. Pretty.
Rowan, what about you? Have you traveled?
I did. I also went to the West Coast. I was in Oregon in June, visiting family.
Did you have a nice time?
I did. The weather never got above 70 degrees.
Amazing.
Wow.
It was just stunning.
Yeah, that was one of the cool things about California was just the temperature so mild and amazing. I loved it.
I love the great state of Florida, but I'm just convinced it's south of hell. So.
Yeah.
We do have some heat. I went a little, not quite as far west as you guys, went to Montana. Same kind of deal. It was 76 as a high, but at night it was in the low 50s. So, it's been a big summer for us, but here we are, we're back again. We got a great episode ahead. Let's start, though, with some Castleberry in the news. This past weekend, Carlos, you and I were roving reporters on scene as Castleberry launched its 3rd new park in about 2 months, which in itself is quite remarkable, and that was Wheel Park West.
Yeah, Park West.
What was your experience of this new park?
This thing is really, really cool. I can't believe it's free. And, by free, obviously it costs tax dollars and stuff, but to the community, for it to be something that the community can go and enjoy, for it to be free admission is something that's really, really cool. To see how much is there. A lot of the times when you get something that's funded publicly, you might not be expecting, all these facilities that are there. It's a 10-acre site. It has skate park. It has the wheel park that we talked about previously. It has, BMX, and it even has a playground for kids and a little training area for the pump tracks and everything. So it was really cool to see every single thing that they're offering there, and to see the community show up and celebrate this awesome accomplishment.
Yeah, and apparently it's one of the best in the kind of southeast of the nation, professionally designed. I think you described it so well. I saw it on your social media when you said this is like a real life video game.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, you know, the kind of stuff that you really only see, at least for me, I only ever really saw it when I was playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Those kind of parks. It's at that level of park. It's not your kind of little rinky park with, there's one, you know, there's one half pipe and maybe a bowl. There's 3 or 4 different bowls. There's a whole street park area. There's a pump track. It was really, really cool to see.
Yeah, I know none of what those technical terms are, but it's really got to be seen to believe. So listeners, would encourage you to go, stop by. Maybe we could kind of film on location there. Robin, you could do some like triple pikes or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do a whole segment on. We will put Andy at the bottom of the 10-foot canyon.
Yeah.
We'll record an episode, and the challenge is for Andy to get out of the 10-foot canyon by the time we finish recording.
Yeah, I do not think that will happen because that is an intense place.
He's going to have a nightmare tonight.
I know. Stuck in the canyon. But let me just say one thing before we move on. One of the things I love about that park, and it is so, so well done, is that I remember, and it was probably several years ago, when a couple of community members came up with this idea and they shared the vision and they got support and they shared it with the commission, and the commission listened and responded and put together this bond package to pay for that and the other improvements. That went to a local election, that passed, they got the money in, they were wise with it, and they've really made a difference. But it all happened because a couple of communities members said, wouldn't it be great if? And we saw the whole process of democracy work so well. Yeah. And also that's a really great narrative that kind of is foundational to that park. And
there's the quote of society is, I'm going to butcher the quote, but to paraphrase it, it's society prospers when people plant trees whose shade they'll never sit in.
Something like that.
Something like that. And I mean, we moved here in 2016 and we saw the yard signs that said Skate Park Castleberry. Well, the parents who were putting that on there may have been parents of kids who were in high school then who have now probably moved away to college and won't enjoy that skate park. But that didn't stop them from building that community support. They said, well, there's going to be kids who come in afterwards and are going to be able to enjoy these facilities. And so that's
one
cool.
Of those gentlemen, I appreciated, they gave a shout out to him. His name was Larry Luttrell, and tragically, Larry died a couple of months ago of cancer. But Larry was one of the pioneers, and I had the same thought when I realized that he saw the vision in his head long before it was a vision in reality. So grateful for all those community activists who say, what if, and they challenge us towards greater things. So listener, check it out. Castleberry Wheel Park East and West on Winter Park Drive. We're not recommending you skate if you are not of an age where you could do that safely. Maybe speaking to myself there, but please just go. And it is a blessing to see other people enjoying that.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Robin, are you ready for your favorite section of the week?
I'm ready.
We are ready for our dad jokes of the week.
Ouch.
So back to school. Why did the math book look so sad?
Why did the math book look so sad?
Anyone?
It was math.
Well, yeah, that. Second to that, because it had too many problems.
Boom.
All right.
Well, can I just slide in next with my contribution, one of my contributions? Because it kind of follows. You had a math joke, I got an English joke.
Okay.
I only know 25 letters of the alphabet.
Oh, why?
I don't know why.
All right.
Carlos, what you got?
So for me, it's just the fact that my paper airplane won't fly.
What?
Yeah, it's just stationary. Well, I got fired from a clock factory when I was a kid. I don't know if I've ever told you all that.
Why is that?
Well, I thought it was a good thing that I was putting in extra hours, but apparently not.
I used to play the piano by ear.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I use my hands. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break and we'll be right back with a guest that you will want to hear from and an interview that you won't want to miss.
Church Together connects people together with Christ in community and for our city. Join us for worship at 200 North Triplet Lake Drive in Castleberry, Sundays at 10 a.m. For more information, visit us at ourchurchtogether.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our favorite part of the show where we shine the spotlight on someone who is doing incredible things within our city. And we are honored and privileged today to have a gentleman who has only been part of our community for just over a year, but has already made his mark in our community. His name is, do I have to call you principal? I mean, I kind of feel like I should.
Yeah, why not?
Mr. kind of feels too impersonal. So Principal Byron Durias is with us today from South Seminole Academy. This is the second time that we have seen you today. And earlier today, I heard of many of the great things that are happening at the school. I'm looking forward to exploring some of those with you in our interview today. But let me kind of start off just by way of introduction. You are a principal by day, but that doesn't define you. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what life is like when you are not wearing the principal hat.
Oh, wow. Thank you for having me. First and foremost, who am I when I'm not wearing the principal hat? I'm a dad, a family man. I am a son of God. I am a chef.
Really?
I was a chef before I was an educator. I love gardening and fishing. I'm a stay-at-home kind of guy. Like I'm a homebody for sure, but just a family-oriented person. I love just being at home in the yard, milling around the house, hanging out with my kiddos. I have a daughter who's in college. I got a senior in high school, and then I got a 7th grader myself. Not at my school, but he's a middle schooler.
It is both a fun time and an expensive time.
Very expensive. Very expensive. So yeah, I mean, when I'm not a principal, I love reading. So, I think that there's a lot of crossover because I'm a dad to, the kids at the school in many ways, and oftentimes just still a learner myself. So there's a lot of crossover, but yeah.
Byron, just to tell our listeners and the team here, the first time we met, you recommended a book to me. The Power of Giving Power Away.
The Power of Giving Away Power.
And I don't know if I said, but I must have given about 20 of those books away.
Oh, wow.
It has changed my life in leadership.
I love that book.
It was
I love that book. It's
just
a great book.
formational in me.
Yeah.
So,
I usually will recommend, a book in a conversation at least once.
So what we got now? I mean, this is the hot take.
Man.
I want it. This is the reason we're doing the interview, just so I can get
I read 3 this summer. Let's see, The One Thing.
Okay.
That's, I can't think of the author's name. Last name starts with a K, but that's a phenomenal book. We have a lot going on at South Seminole, and I was like, okay, so all of these things are important, but which one do I really need to focus on? And he gives some great advice. One thing is to plan your vacation at the beginning of the year. That way, you lead up, you're going to work hard, but you need that time to also, decompress and take care of yourself. The other book that I read is called The Multiplier Effect.
Yep. Familiar with that?
And that's a good one. And then Extreme Ownership, which is phenomenal.
Yes, I've read that. That's by the
Navy SEALs. Jocko Willink and I can't. But that's
I've read that too.
Yeah, those are excellent.
I'm definitely going to have to add some of those books to my list for sure. Trying to get back into reading, so I'll add some of those.
Yeah, I do mostly, Red Fish, One Fish, Where's Waldo?
Those are good
those are popular at my house. I have kids too, and so I stick to those, but
yeah,
some
easier.
good ones.
So you sound like a really busy guy. I'm sure you have a lot of hard days when the bells keep ringing and the inbox keeps filling. So what lights your fire?
I take my work really seriously. There's a lot happening in our world, and our kids, I think, deserve the opportunity to enter into a world that they can be proud of, that they can enjoy. I remember a year ago, probably 2 years ago now, former school talking with some kids, and they didn't have good things to say about the future, and that really, really concerned me, as a principal. And so it's important to me every day to support our kids. There's a lot of times where we think that, oh my gosh, they're crazy, they're wild, they have no goals, they have whatever the case may be. And I think it's just a big misconception, when you really sit down and you get to talk to these kids. And so I would say, what lights my fire is talking to the kids and hearing their stories, their passions, their dreams, their aspirations, because, oftentimes we don't sit and just ask them those questions. We're really like, get up, let's go, we got to get to school, fix your this, make your bed, why'd you do that, get your grades up. And oftentimes we're not asking them, what do you want to do? How is the world? How are you doing? Even. And you sit and you take the opportunity to ask them those questions. They can be really passionate. They can be really thoughtful about the future and the current state of the world that we're in.
Yeah, that's awesome. My husband is a teacher in Volusia. I'm trying to get him to come to Seminole. Yeah. But he says the same thing. He's like, sometimes it's the first time they're asked how are they doing, and there's no bad kid. There's just a kid that's maybe a little broken or something like that. So getting to know them is super important. So I love that.
You talked about the many hats that you wear outside of your job, but when you're off campus and out in the community, serving as a principal, where are we most likely to find you?
Honestly, when I came here to South Seminole, I hopped all around. I really love the engagement from the community, the ways in which former, current, civic leaders are really, really involved here in Castleberry. That, when I came, the first week, a former board member came over. She met me right away. I was fortunate enough to meet Andy, and just many people just coming, embracing me, offering their support. That was really encouraging. So for me, I wanted to reciprocate that. So as much as possible, if I could get to, I've met the mayor at City Hall, as I mentioned earlier, before we started, met the chief, police here, and others. And, whether it's been at Christian Help, I just think getting out into the community and getting to know the members of the community, because I can see the dedication and the commitment that they have to making this a really wonderful place to be. And so that inspires me, because I think that our kids deserve that. And I hope that we can mirror what the community is trying to bring forward here in Castleberry.
I agree.
Yeah, it takes a village, and we're trying to build a village. Absolutely, and everybody has a part to play in that.
It takes an investment, and it takes time to do that, like you said, to meet people. And I know my wife and I reflect on the fact that we moved here in 2016, so almost 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And really, COVID had an effect, but we don't feel like we had necessarily branched out and established ourselves in the community until about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. But now that we have, everywhere we go, we run into people that we know, and we get to feel connected and have that tight knit feel.
Talked about the power of giving away power. And, one of the concepts in the book is this idea of a constellation mindset. And it's really centered around the idea that I need you, you need me, in order for us to form something bigger than ourselves. We got to make connection. We got to be able to establish common purpose and goal. There's a lot of complex issues, that we need to solve in our communities, and we can only do it if we work together. And so that's really a premise of the work that I do at the school, really trying to create community within the school, but also look at the larger ecosystem that our students are a part of, so that they also can see that they can be a part of the solution as well, to make the communities that we really want to have and value.
Yeah, one of the phrases that defines a lot of what I do is that a rising tide lifts all boats, right? And so as the different elements get stronger, so the other elements get stronger as well. In that picture, in that metaphor, what is South Seminole contributing to the whole, especially in terms of kind of like culture and spirit and that kind of thing?
I think for us, is particularly with where we are moving to in terms of our magnet, which is the Career Academy of Career Exploration, we really want our students to see themselves as part of the community. And part of that process is also bringing the community in to participate with us in our new pathways. So we have 3 pathways. The first is our business and creation pathway. You think about entrepreneurship, you think about creativity in terms of workforce. We also have our technology pathway, and then we have a service pathway. So the technology could be anything from coding to web design, and then our service pathway, we have hospitality, we have the law program, of course, which is very well known and established at South Seminole Academy. And the idea is to partner with the community, to partner with local businesses and experts to help our kids see themselves in these real world sort of instances, to see how the community can have impact within the school and then vice versa. So if our kids, we talked about this idea of, the community being a part of solutions, but we want our kids to also see themselves as part of the solution as well. And one of the ways in which we can do that is looking at like what we might call like place-based problems, and so the kids might say, okay, if we have flooding as a local issue, for example, the kids might say, we want to tackle flooding. My community floods when there's a 10-minute downpour. And the kids might look into how can we resolve this particular issue for our community. They might have to look and talk to engineers. They may have to talk to, people within the municipalities.
Love that.
And so it really helps them to see that there's a bigger picture. And the other ways are obviously, getting the kids involved in things like public service. So that all of those are really, really key and critical.
I got a list of community problems to solve if you want them.
Send them our way. We want to. I mean, honestly, they'd be great for getting our kids to think about real world scenarios and talking about real world scenarios. One of the things that we're going to be bringing on board next year is we're going to be an international baccalaureate candidate school, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
And so that really helps our kids to be critical thinkers, to be global thinkers, to think about issues not just from their own perspective.
But that's good, because solving some of the problems in the Middle East was actually on my list. Absolutely. So maybe your students could tackle that.
I think they can tackle it. I think they can. And we want them to think about those problems that way. We want them to understand why grocery prices in the U.S. are rising, and what's contributing to that. And so we want them to be critical thinkers. We want them to be global thinkers. And so that's one of the ways in which we're going to get to hopefully impact their development and get them to be, again, community oriented. But it's really about this idea, oftentimes in our system, school systems, public systems, it's about, who has the best grades, who has the highest SAT scores. And we really want, that obviously that doesn't necessarily go away overnight. But we also want to inject this idea once again of community, of theme this year is going to be the drop, make the wave. And the idea that we all ripple out into our specific spaces in different ways. But if a person's not really thriving as an individual, that typically will relate to how they interact with other people interpersonally in their community and so forth. And so we want our kids to thrive first and foremost. Hopefully that will translate into being great citizens and people within their community.
Awesome. That is some good stuff. I'm excited to see what's in store for you guys. I'm sure you have a lot of recent moments where a student moved you, but can you think of one specifically where you kind of said to yourself, okay, this is why we're doing what we're doing?
Wow. I've met some really awesome kids at South Seminole in the last year. The former magnet focus was on leadership, and the leadership component is still alive and well in the new focus of career exploration. And we participated last year in a national competition called the Amazing Shake. And I didn't know what it was. It is really cool. It happens at the Ron Clark Academy in Atlanta. We had a student, we took 3 young ladies and a young man, and I don't know if listeners know, but South Seminole is the highest poverty school in middle school in Seminole County. So we are approximately 75% free reduced to lunch. So it's pretty significant. And so some of our students, we took this young man to Atlanta, and he flew for the first time. He was just thrilled to be on this trip. He wanted to go out. He wanted to get a blazer because all the kids there were all like, they were all dressed and decked out. But he was just really excited just to be there. And I could see how, we probably just really significantly impacted the trajectory of his life experience, because now there's a certain bar. There's a certain level that he knows that's attainable, and he's going to aspire to that. But he was just so thrilled. It was just really great to see all the joy and excitement that he had just going on this trip, and just getting on the plane. I mean, it was really cool.
I love those stories.
Yeah, it's those little life experiences that you don't know necessarily when you learned them, but had you not been exposed to them, I mean, even something as simple as walking up to a counter and ordering something.
Absolutely.
Walking through an airport, seeing how TSA works, and being told to grab your luggage from the overhead compartment and all that kind of stuff. That's really cool to hear about. How is South Seminole preparing students not just to pass tests, but to lead, serve, and thrive in the real world? And as I asked that, I just real quick want to mention, like, my kids go to Casper Elementary, and I've seen South Seminole students there volunteering to help with math night or science night. So I kind of have seen that part of it, but wanted to give you the opportunity to expand on that.
Absolutely. I've talked a lot about some of the things that we're doing, and the leadership component. Looking at the IB implementation. One of the really cool ways, that I'm excited about, that we're going to also help our kids prepare for the future is this past summer, literally probably a month ago, I met with some Apple partners, and we are privileged to be moving and embarking upon what they call it, or refer to as an Apple Distinguished Pathway School. So we are going to be the first school in Seminole County to have Apple devices as our primary device. And so this first year, the upcoming year, all of our faculty and staff are going to get the introduction of the Apple devices. We're also going to be a one-to-one device school, and so all of our kids are going to also have devices as well, but they won't get the Apple devices until the following year. And what I learned about that, was concerning, because, you're thinking, well, your teachers have one device, the students have another device, but there's this idea of being tech agile. And so the kids are, it's like being bilingual, so they can use any device, they can use any application, they can move between them easily, and so they actually encouraged us to have these multiple devices so that the kids, they have that experience. And so you think about the just complete overwhelming nature of AI right now, and how it's impacting everything that we do. We're really wanting to help our kids use AI in an effective and productive way. Any tool that you use, if you use a hammer the right way, it's a productive tool. If you use it incorrectly, it can be very destructive. And we see AI in the same way in education right now, and the technology is advancing very, very rapidly, much more rapidly than we understand and can really be able to use in a way that, in schools specifically, that is helpful towards education. So our goal this year is to not only educate our teachers using the resources that we have, but then also to leverage those lessons that we learn to support our students becoming more productive citizens, being real world ready.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. It is a foreign language.
It is.
I mean, I'm not even sure I'm very good in my native language of Apple,
I know.
It's crazy. It's a whole new world.
It's pretty interesting.
So you talked about the IB program is coming. This partnership with Apple is coming. It was made the news recently that you were awarded $5 million for special programs and projects. You've got some new facilities that have been built. Lots going on, and this is only year 2 for you.
Year 2.
What does walking through the door of this next school year look like? What are you excited about? What can students expect? What are some of the dreams and the hopes that you have for this next year?
I think I really want our kids to have an amazing learning experience. And I want them to feel empowered with regards to the learning experience that is available to them. So, the pathways, the house system that we have, all of these things are to help give the kids agency to move through the school in a way that is meaningful for them. One of the things that the kids are going to do, there's, you guys may be familiar with it, there's a website called Zello. And Zello, you get to go on and you're like, oh, these are my interests. These are the things that I'm good at. These are the things that, on my off time I might engage in.
Yeah.
And then Zello might move you and say, hey, you know what? Maybe these are career types or these are types of, pathways that you might want to consider. And so the kids do that actually starting at Castleberry and thinking maybe 4th grade. And so they kind of get that started there, and then when they come to us, they might say, okay, so I want to be an arborist. I don't know, but so how does that fit into what's available here at South Seminole? And how does that help me on my pathway through SCPS schools in general?
Yeah.
The pathways that we have a new program. We have 8 new CTE programs, career and technical education programs, that include welding simulation, intro to education, which includes the early childhood care program, which they offer at Lake Howell, the hospitality and culinary programs also at Lake Howell and some of the other schools.
You're going to slide in there and do a little bit of chef teaching.
I might get in there. Yeah, I might. And but the idea is that the kids have a pathway, they have agency, but within that, so it's like a balance. So it's my individual pathway, but in the house structure, having these 3 houses, hopefully will also create community and maybe even a little friendly competition between the houses. So, we get kids being recognized and awarded points for things like, opening the door for their peer, showing gratitude, but encouraging those types of qualities that are going to help them in the long term, and helping them to be, work ready, having, workplace readiness, simple things, collaboration, getting along with others, problem solving, not just simply coming in, looking to, attain knowledge for the sake of passing an assessment, which is important also, for different reasons, but we certainly want them to have a quality academic experience.
Yeah. I'm impressed. I want to go back to middle school. Well, there's part of middle school I don't want to go back to, but I want to do this.
Yeah. There's some cool stuff. There's some cool stuff for sure.
Yeah, speaking of middle school, and if you want to go back, that's great, but I don't think I do. It's a wild mix of energy, emotion, changes.
Oh, yeah.
I think everyone probably remembers their middle school experience in some capacity. So how is South Seminole creating a space for the middle schoolers to grow with both structure and heart?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. We really are trying to be intentional about the opportunities that our students have to build and develop their sense of self. A lot of students, have high self-esteem, but maybe their self-confidence isn't where it needs to be. And I think that's because they don't really know who they are. Like, they may say, oh, I'm a good student, but they don't really know who they are outside of whether or not they're a good student or a good basketball player or a good soccer player. And we want to help them to understand who they are in their core. So are you creative? So that might be our students who, aren't necessarily our rule followers, but, they push buttons. And, we need people who color outside the lines sometimes, because that's how we get innovation, and that's how we, we have things that are unique to our society that, I'm a very linear person, and there are certain things that I just wouldn't think of. And so we want kids and teachers as well, we want our faculty and staff to also see these gifts as not necessarily things that are maybe detrimental to the learning environment, but are assets. So all of our students come with assets, and we take whatever they come with, and we take what they have, and we try to leverage it for the learning environment. That diversity, we're a very diverse school. We're 50% Hispanic. We have about 16% Black, 40+% white. So it's very diverse, faculty, staff, and student body. And so leveraging all of the different and varied experiences that we have at the school, I think lend themselves very well to that development and to that aspect of heart. And so I would say, for sure, that, just that individualized aspect of helping our kids develop the core sense of self is something that we would definitely strive towards.
That's awesome and super important, because I feel like, I'm thinking back when I was in middle school, I was like, okay, I'm in band, I am a student, and I didn't explore myself for quite a while, it seemed, because I was so focused on
I think it's natural in
survival.
all of us.
Yeah.
I think it definitely is natural because we are, again, if we go back to just the way schools are designed, there's this sort of, that idea of meritocracy. You get a certain GPA,
right.
You get into certain schools, that should get you a certain job. And what we've learned is that that's not necessarily the case, We have to do things a little bit differently. And, we're hoping that this approach is going to yield the kinds of, the kids need a great school. They just, they need the opportunity to come and to just have a great experience. And I just think that if we can continue to move in the right direction in relation to our new programs, partnering with the community, and giving our kids, letting the kids have agency. We want the kids to
Great
lead.
word.
That's really what it requires. They really have to have a say. And sometimes, they're going to want to do things that we might not think are, but that's the path we need to go down, and that's what's going to, really help us to create a community of learners that are those critical thinkers. They are risk takers in a really thoughtful way, but they won't be afraid to take risk and to be creative and innovative and curious.
Maybe after this conversation, I want to go back to middle school.
All right, there you go. You should.
You convinced me.
There you go.
Yeah. You mentioned that, there's a component of it being kind of in the community mindset. And how can, our listeners who are neighbors, of the school, who are business owners in our community, who are leaders in our community, how can they partner with you to invest in these kids' futures?
Yeah, great question. We have a trio of wonderful ladies who are what we call the MSAP team. It's the Magnet School Assistance Program team, but we also call part of the MAP team, or what we call the MSAP and Admin Partnership. And they, as part of our grant, they're charged with helping to infuse all of these really cool things into our school. And one of the ways in which they're doing that is business partnerships. And so on our website, there's probably a place where business partners can go. They're welcome to come tour the campus. They're welcome to come during our Magnet Night, which is November 13th at 6 p.m. to come visit, bring kids, bring family members. And we have other ways in which they can get involved. Some of the traditional ways in Seminole County is the Seminole County Teach-In, which is usually also around November, that week of Veterans Day.
I'm a teaching vet,
Yes.
and I do it every year to remind myself what an incredible job teachers do.
Yeah, it's a fun thing, and we love having business partners come in. Another thing that we do that's really cool is called, I'm going to lose it right here. The idea is a simulation. Kids come in and they get a job, they get a career, they get money, they get to decide do they want to have a family or not, and
it's a cost of living kind of experience. Yeah.
And living on my own. Living on my own is what it's called. And so we have business partners that come in. They may serve as a leaseholder. They might serve as the babysitter, when the kids go around to these various parts of their living on my own experience, and really having to determine whether or not, and most of them leave saying they don't want kids, because the kids are so expensive. But that's a great experience. And here's the truth: we would love to visit businesses. We would love to have business partners come in as experts. Any of our programs, hospitality, we talk about law. Those are some of our big ones, but we also have cybersecurity that's new this year. We also have a hospitality course that's going to be new this year. I talked about the education course. but we are open to having as many business partners as possible. That can look in a variety of ways. Speaking to a class, you can do it virtually, you can come in person. That can look like donations behind the scenes. Public education is, got some funding needs. We have the $5 million, but they are categorical, meaning we can only spend them on certain things.
Yeah.
And so there are other needs. I did share that our school is one of the highest poverty schools, in Seminole County, and that doesn't mean that our kids lack ability. It just means that maybe sources that other families and communities might have aren't necessarily there. And so, we really want to provide those opportunities, and our business partners can help us to bridge the gap between what our kids need and what they are able to maybe bring to the table on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and there's a whole theory of the hierarchy of needs, right? And so if you've got a community where kids might be wanting for something as simple as a pencil or a ruler or a calculator,
Absolutely.
How are they going to do great in this class if they're thinking I might not have, a snack to come home to or whatever. And so even those little gaps being filled, I think, are important for them.
Yeah.
To know, hey, I've got my bases covered. Now I can focus on my learning experience and on growing as a person and on figuring myself out.
Yeah. I want to say also, I think sometimes, like, if you don't have children in school or grandchildren in school, you might not understand the potential for what happens when a kid is not receiving a good education. But if you've ever had someone maybe, break into your home, or there's a lot of statistical evidence around what happens when people receive poor education. And so the more educated a society we have, the better our communities are going to be, safer our communities are going to be. And so I really encourage our business partners, whether they have children in the schools or not, to get involved. I'd love for them to be involved at South Seminole Academy, but to get involved in the schools in any regard, because it's important for all of the community to be involved, not just those that have children in the schools, but for everyone.
So Alia is past president of the Castleberry Chamber of Commerce. And this might be a great topic to have one luncheon as we move forward. And I think we found a great speaker for that as well. Anyway, we're running out of time. Last question. Imagine that this microphone could speak to every household in Castleberry, which it could if people would tell their friends about the show. But if you had one message to share with parents, residents, kids in our community right now, as we get ready to start school, what is that message?
I think I'll stick with the theme that we have this year: be the drop, make the wave. One small act can make a big difference. And I just think sometimes if we just do that one thing, all of us collectively, it can make a significant difference in not just our own lives, but in the lives of those around us.
I love that. Principal Durias, you are a big wave in this community, and we are all going to be beneficiaries of the ripples that you are creating through that school. So thank you for your
you guys
leadership.
for having me. I really appreciate being here.
Yeah, thank you for your voice. Thank you for your time, and look forward to serving with you as we strengthen our community.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, listener, for joining us for that interview with Principal Byron Durias. Thank you, Principal Durias, for joining us and sharing your wisdom with us and your book recommendations. We look forward to reading those in the upcoming months. So now for our inspirational moment. This quote comes from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. "The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education." And, as part of that conversation that we had today, we definitely saw that coming through as a goal for the students in our local communities. And so, again, we appreciate the time that was given to us, Principal Durias.
Thank you, Carlos, and thank you, listener, for listening to another episode of the What's Up Castleberry podcast. This episode was produced by Robin Kepi and hosted by Andy Searles, Alia Ray, and Carlos Pereiro. For more information, visit us at whatsupcastleberry.com, and until next time, have a great week.